Hello Bishes, welcome back to my channel. Today we are finally going to be doing a sketchbook tour of this sketchbook that I have documented myself drawing in every single page and spread of on this video. So if you're interested in seeing how I drew each spread in this sketchbook and just me talking about various life topics or art topics, definitely check out the other videos on my channel because I pretty much filmed everything that I drew in this sketchbook. So I get a lot of questions regarding where I got this sketchbook from, and fun fact, this is not even really a sketchbook in the first place, as you can see by its accordion nature. It is actually called a Goshuincho, which is a book that you bring around to shrines in Japan, and you can just put stamps and markings in them based on the shrine that you go to. So this was originally not meant for really drawing and coloring in, but the store that I bought it from and a lot of other stores I noticed that had books like these marketed as like sketchbooks, notebooks, you could journal in this, you could draw in this, mainly probably for the tourists. So that's why I ended up using it as a sketchbook. So I apologize in advance if this offends anybody in any way. However, I hope the fact that I poured my heart and soul and work into this sketchbook whilst also spreading or attempting to spread education and inspiration to others kind of makes up for it. Anyway, this is an accordion styled book, which means I have two sides to complete. You saw that there was a front side and a back side. So now I will just start with the first side that I started with. So this is the first spread in the sketchbook, but ironically, it is not the first one that I did. So this is kind of a spread that I did in the middle of my journey, but most of you may know that I kind of have this policy or something where whenever I start a sketchbook, I always start in the middle because I feel like there's just less pressure to make the first page look nice, and if you just start in the middle, that page was probably going to be like a dud page anyway, or maybe a page that wouldn't have been as impressive as the first page. So if you did want to make the first page, you know, super pretty or something, you can work your way up to it by starting in the middle. So this is a spread that is based on old characters of mine that I used to draw a lot of prior to my college days. Like, I'm pretty sure you all have your own original characters or OCs where you just have this imaginative world in your head with these different characters. And I had this super overly ambitious sci-fi idea in my head, in which, as you can see, never came into fruition because I was a high schooler who just dreamed very big, and there's nothing wrong with that, but not all ideas were meant to be. And this spread is based on my childhood or memories just growing up as an Asian American kid. I hung out a lot with my cousins and spent a lot of time in my grandparents' house, so I just wanted to sketch out aspects of that time in my life, I guess, and to kind of just remember what my grandparents' house was like, because I haven't been there in over 10 years because they've all passed away now, and their house is no longer theirs because they're not here. So I was just like, I should draw it before I forget it. So this spread is actually the first page that I did in the sketchbook, and I see that I started it on July 27th, so it's almost been a year. But yeah, this was kind of a spread that I did based on whatever was present in my life. It was just like, this is just my current studio corner. I went hiking with my boyfriend and sister all the time, and I just recently got cats. So I just kind of drew whatever was just like, this is just my life right now. Just here are the things in my life right now, and that's how I started this sketchbook. Speaking of my cats, this is a spread based off of my cats as humans. So if any of you follow me on Instagram, you probably see that I talk about my cats a lot. I make comics about them. I have two sister tabbies. One is named Moon Pie, and she is the orange girl because she is very extroverted, friendly, and very silly and goofy. Then I have Bon, who is kind of like a little bit more uptight, sophisticated, and very graceful. So I wanted to make her your shy but very complex girl. Then this is a spread that I drew that's just based on different women. I just really enjoy drawing feminine people, probably because I am a woman and I have a lot of fun dressing up and just doing stuff with my hair that sometimes I like to really manifest being other types of women by drawing them out. And I also just have this guilty pleasure when it comes to drawing fashion. So there you go. And then this spread is just kind of based on the two characters that I mainly feature on my Instagram comics, which is Mish and Vera. Mish is kind of like, you know, the comics that are based on my everyday today life, and she's more also like silly and cute. Vera features the comics that, you know, are a little bit more of the subconscious deep side of me, because I do want to make deep comics from time to time and not always make them silly. Then this spread is kind of based on my toxic mindset with art, because prior to who I am now, there was a part of my life where I was just always so negative about myself, my skill level. I felt like just a machine that was producing work but not really putting any soul into my stuff. So this is just a spread that was just talking about that time period in my life, and I still have moments in life where I feel like just someone who is producing art just to produce art, not so much because I love it. And there are times where I still feel pretty shitty about my art, but it's definitely much less than before, and that's what matters. It's not about getting rid of it completely, it's kind of just more about lessening it and learning to live and deal with it in a healthier way, because, you know, it's like sadness, anger, negativity will always exist. And then this spread is based on just thumbnails for comics that you've actually seen on my Instagram at this point. If you do read any of my comics, they are now on my Instagram, so you can definitely check them out to see the final product. So I didn't even know that I was going to be making these thumbnails into actual comics at first. Like, I thought I would just use this spread to showcase how I brainstorm the way that I make comics. And to some people, this might be the worst page, but nowadays this is actually how I treat sketchbooks. I treat them more as a brainstorming place to create future bigger projects. So this is a spread that I did for Halloween, where I drew the same girl in several different styles. That's kind of an exercise that I really enjoy doing for fun, is drawing one subject in different styles, because it just kind of forces you to get out of your comfort zone from time to time, but also just see what it is that you naturally do versus other artists do. And then this is the last spread of this side of the sketchbook, where I just wanted to draw love relationships between people, because I just wanted to talk about my journey with love and relationships. It's a thing that honestly hasn't played too big of a role in my life until recently. So that's something that I just wanted to showcase. You know, it's just fun and indulgent to just draw cute couples, so why not? But yeah, as most of you can see, I mainly just use colored pencils and markers really to draw these sketchbook pages. I am just more of a fan of the bolder mediums, and that was my test page for all of those mediums I just talked about. And now we will flip over to the other side of the accordion. So then now we're moving to the other side of the sketchbook, in which I like to say is my 2021 side of the sketchbook, because I literally started this right after winter break when 2021 started. So this was a spread that I did about getting out of your comfort zone and just trying to do your best in being willing to draw anything, I guess. You don't have to be fully capable or good at drawing everything, but at least willing to dip your toes into anything, I think will help you in the long run. And then this spread next is kind of about my mental health journey and how art has really helped me during certain tough times in my life. And I'm pretty sure that's why a lot of you also really love doing art, is because there's a therapeutic side to it. And I am definitely not a medical professional at all, but I am pretty sure that there is some link between creating art, drawing, and, you know, just promoting good mental health in some way, although sometimes it can be the opposite. Then, ironically, this was my last page that I did in the sketchbook. I just made this spread last week, and it's about my journey from high schooler to art student, because I feel like a lot of you who watch my videos are currently students, either trying to get into art school or an art student trying to break into the industry. So I just figured I'd draw a page reflecting on that. And this was my second to last page that I did in this sketchbook, where it's kind of about me just drawing the things that are my least favorite things in the medium that is my least favorite medium. So I don't really like drawing vehicles or cars. They're just too technical for me, ironically, even though I worked on a show called Trash Truck. But in terms of my personal work, vehicles are one of the last things I'd really be interested in. And watercolor is just my least favorite medium because I'm just a bitch who likes having control, and watercolor sometimes just has no control. Now, this is a spread based on my Asian American identity. It's not something that I've really ever talked about before until this video, kind of. And this was also during the time where the Asian hate crimes were really rising around the world, and I felt like it was important to at least discuss my reflection on my relationship with my culture. Even though I know that's not going to save the world, I thought that it would at least help, you know, inspire some people or bring light about my culture to others. And this was a spread that I did about self-care habits for artists that are not the most obvious ones sometimes. Like, I kind of forgot what they are right now, but I'm pretty sure I explained it in the video that I did this spread on. So check that video out if you're interested in getting some little self-care habits that might not be your typical ones, like, oh, go out and exercise, even though I clearly have a drawing of the cat exercising, but whatever. And then this spread is kind of about my experiences with hate comments, or just my relationship with hate comments. It's something that is inevitable if you're going to want to ever share your work online or have any sort of presence online. There's always going to be someone out there who just doesn't like you because you may be the juiciest peach in the world, but not everyone in the world is going to like peaches. So that is just kind of the hard truth. But however, I feel like it did make me have thicker skin. And this was a page that I did just more about styles, just talking more about styles. It's always such a, you know, existential crisis for a lot of artists to figure out their style. But at the end of the day, I don't think that styles should be what you focus on. I think you should focus on just developing your skills and see what are the habits that you develop within searching for the skill level that you desire to acquire, and your style will just emerge from it. And speaking of skill levels, this was a spread that I just talked about why your art might not be improving, and I just offer some other sorts of options that you can try to experiment with to see if your art can improve in this way. I pretty much just talked about my perspective on how I personally improved in art, and maybe if any of you relate to it as well, maybe it'll help you improve in your art if the ways that you've already been testing with aren't working for you in this moment. And then this page was actually one of my more successful pages for some reason, in terms of just people really being interested in this spread and the topic that I talked about. I ended up talking about art tips that you shouldn't listen to, but I just drew a bunch of bad bitches because I need that guilty indulgence sometimes. I just love drawing women, females, or just people with vaginas. I am one, so I think I should love drawing them. So yeah, honestly, I really like how the purple and yellow turned out on this page. It's not really a color choice I normally choose, but I think it turned out pretty good. And then this spread is just kind of about life drawing and gestures. To be honest, I already forgot what I talked about with this. Oh yeah, it was about why you shouldn't get into art. And I just kind of drew like life drawings and gestures just to have a classic like old sketchbook trying to get into art school type of vibe. Like, I'm like, here, I'm showing that I can draw figures in a space doing stuff and interacting. And yeah, that is one of my biggest art tips if you're trying to draw gestures in your sketchbook. Give them a situation and an interaction. And lastly, here is a little mind map of the best advice that I personally got from art school, being a character animation major from Cal Arts. It's clarity is key, emphasize strengths in your portfolio over your weaknesses, skill first and then style second, in which I discuss in a lot of my videos. Inspiration does not always equal aspiration. To clarify what's influencing your art and get what's in your head onto paper to just get that shit out, just like I did with the sketchbook. And sadly but gladly, that is the end of this sketchbook tour and the end of this sketchbook in general. So thank you all for embarking on this journey with me. This is the first time that I finished a sketchbook since I graduated school. Like, I don't even really remember finishing a sketchbook ever since I was still in college. So yeah, this was quite an accomplishment, and I thank you all for joining me. As to what is next, I have no idea. We will find that out in the next video, where I will talk about what I'm thinking about doing next. So for now, I will see you all in the next one. So peace out and stay wholesome, bitches.